Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2019 Fort Wayne Community Schools Speech Contest. I'm Matt Shebo, principal at Kikiyanga Middle School, and we're proud to host the contest this year. I want to thank everybody for being here to support these talented students, and at this time, I'd like you to make sure that your cell phone is turned off so we can begin. And now I'd like to turn the program over to Kikiyanga Language Arts teacher and speech coordinator, Tara Christ.
Thank you, Mr. Shebo. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2019 Middle School Speech Contest. My name is Tara Kristen and this is my 12th year teaching and coaching speech for FWCS. This is my 8th year teaching as the Middle School Speech Coordinator for the district, and I'm excited to hear what our wonderful students have prepared for us. Congratulations to all these talented participants behind me who have made it this far, and good luck today. To start with, I'd like to introduce our fantastic panel of judges behind you. First off is Linda Dare. Linda taught for 15 years at Fort Wayne Community Schools. She was the speech coach and theater director at Memorial Park Middle School. She was also the coordinator for the Middle School Speech Contest for several years. Linda taught composition at IPFW for 10 years. She's currently a manager with DIG Property Solutions and a volunteer with Fort Wayne Community Schools. Please welcome Linda Dare. Next, we have Justin Herring. Justin is a K-12 ELA and 21st Century Skills Curriculum Coordinator for FWCS. He spent the last 6 years as a middle school ELA teacher at Blackhawk Middle School. He has also served as a program director. As an educator, he enjoys building relationships with students and helping them to develop a love of reading and writing. Please welcome Justin Herring. Our next judge is Denise Oaks. Denise has spent the majority of her life as part of the FWCS family. In addition to enjoying kindergarten through 12th grade as a student with the district, she's been employed with FWCS for 25 years. Denise has spent 24 of those years as an ELA teacher and building coach. This year, she has served the district as the K-12 ELA curriculum coordinator. Please welcome Denise Oaks. Our final judge today is Ms. Cookie Rutledge. Cookie Rutledge has worked at FWCS for 29 years as an educator and teacher. For 20 years, she served as speech coach at the high school level. Cookie enjoys seeing the talent that arises each year in the middle school competition and values the mentoring that she receives from our Emcee, Mrs. Betty Stein. Please welcome Cookie Rutledge. And finally, our Emcee for the speech contest is the one and only Dr. Betty Stein. She's been a classroom teacher, administrator, and writes 2 columns regularly for the News Sentinel, and has been an advocate for public speaking at the middle school level for most of her life. She has been our Emcee since this contest began, and I am very excited to welcome back once again, Dr. Betty Stein.
Thank you, Tara. This is really one of the most exciting things that happens with Fort Wayne Community Schools, and it's good to see you all here to enjoy what has been worked on and what we're looking forward to hearing. And I'm not going to keep you waiting while I make an introductory speech. I think they would appreciate getting going, just as you would appreciate getting going also. We will announce topics, but not names of students nor schools they represent until it's all over. All right? We are about to learn from speaker number 1. To die or not to die? Do vaccines save lives?
Hi. You stumble against the wall, feeling lightheaded. Your palms are sweaty, you're losing sight. Your pulse quickens and you feel bile rising in your throat. You are desperately in need of a cure, but there is none. This is what life was like before vaccines, a life of constant pain. Nowadays, things are looking up. We have said cure and don't have to deal with such problems anymore. The first ever vaccine was invented in 1796, meant to cure smallpox, which had its first outbreak over 100 years before. With the evolution of vaccines, we have been able to develop them and cure hundreds of thousands just 2 years after their disease's outbreak. For these reasons, I can assure you that vaccines are by far the most important scientific invention. They save millions of lives each year, prevent chronic diseases, and stop or completely wipe out deadly viruses. To begin this argument, recent surveys and reports make it easy to claim that vaccines save millions of lives annually. CDC.gov states that between 1994 and 2014, these antivirals prevented 21 million hospitalizations and 732,000 deaths worldwide. Just think about how beneficial that has been for families and children. BusinessInsider.com tells us that 42,000 children would be dead just in this year had it not been for the invention of vaccines. 42,000 children. What if one of those children was yours? Would you run the risk of not giving them a vaccine just because they appear to be bad? Another website states that the pneumococcal, rotavirus, and Haemophilus influenzae vaccines were predicted to stop 102 million cases of disease and 3.7 million deaths between 2011 and 2020. In addition, vaccines can prevent chronic diseases. One article about the benefits of these inventions states that the hepatitis B vaccines reduced the cases of this disease in Taiwan by a tenfold. Furthermore, UNICEF.org states that the whooping cough, a harmful bacterium, has been reduced to 36% prominence throughout the past years. These vaccines continue to save lives every single day. Let's travel to Asia for a moment. Imagine yourself as someone without the means of a vaccine. At age 10, you would get sick with rotavirus. 5 years later, after living in agonizing pain, you would die, achieving nothing. However, with just the simple hope of vaccines provided to this section of the world, hundreds of thousands of lives can be saved within a few short seconds. William Foge, an epidemiologist who helped develop the smallpox vaccine, once said, "Vaccines are the tugboat to preventative health." And they are. Vaccines have helped so much since they were invented, and with the recent involvement to new antivirals, we can help even more than we ever imagined possible. Others, though, argue that vaccines can be bad. They say that these antivirals cause other health problems, such as autism. However, many studies have proven this theory to be wrong. In fact, there are many more positive factors to vaccines than negatives. Jeffrey Kluger, the author of Splendid Solutions, a book focused on these cures, said, "Vaccines save lives. Fear endangers them. It's a simple message parents need to keep hearing. Parents should not live in fear of vaccines. Vaccinations have thoroughly prevented viruses from growing or even wiped them out altogether." Did you know that the production of vaccines completely wiped out the smallpox virus? In the past 20 years or more, there have been no cases of this disease anywhere in the world. Polio, a harsh bacteria, has also been almost completely eradicated. Nowadays, only 3 countries in the entire world are listed to have cases of this disease. How could anyone feel as though vaccines are bad? As you have been shown today, vaccines are by far the most significant scientific contribution to society. They save millions of lives each year, prevent chronic diseases, and stop or completely wipe out deadly viruses. Vaccines are important in modern lives. To think not is absurd. If you step back and allow yourself a broader view, you can clearly see how beneficial vaccines are. To end my discussion, I'll leave you with a quote by Uwela Bess. "Imagine the action of a vaccine, not just in terms of how it affects the single body, but also in terms of how it affects the collective body of a community." Thank you.
And you see a very relieved speaker. My job, really, it can have all kinds of fancy titles, but my job is to keep you entertained while the judges figure out the points and make their scores. So I don't dance. It's a little difficult to dance when one uses a walker. So I've tried to find things I hope will be of interest to you, like The students may use note cards. They may use the podium. They may not. They may walk. They may stand still. There are no regulations except speech time. And the judges are keeping track of the time. Looks like speaker number 2 would like me to be quiet so she can get started. We will be talking about the judge's sheet, the one they use to mark, so you'll know what's going on there. In the meantime, you are about to hear advocating for gun control.
Mass murders, such as those at schools in Parkland, Florida, Santa Fe, Texas, and at houses of worship in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Charleston, South Carolina, shock the conscious and spur debate, but little action by Congress. With many parts of the United States having about 180 school days per year, it means that, on average, a shooting occurs once every 8 school days. Over the last 20 years, the topic of guns has become a growing controversy, due to the rapidly increasing number of firearm-related deaths. Numerous tragedies such as Columbine, Sandy Hook, Parkland, and most recently, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, have sparked a serious debate about the ownership of rifles, shotguns, and handguns, and the responsibilities and behaviors of firearm owners. More recently, student advocates have been at the forefront of the rallying cry for gun control. For example, in the aftermath of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, a group of survivors, led by Emma Gonzalez, have started advocating for gun control laws and have inspired others to follow suit. Like them, I believe gun ownership should be more strictly regulated by establishing laws that require background checks and psychological screenings for every prospective gun owner in every state in America. Mass shootings are becoming too frequent, and people with a history of violent offenses, poor mental health, and even substance abuse are still able to purchase firearms without even a basic background check or psychological screening. First, if the United States had stricter gun control, the number of mass shootings would decrease. According to the New York Times, in Poland and England, only about 1 out of every million people die in gun homicides each year, about as often as an American dies in an agricultural accident or by falling off a ladder. In Japan, where gun homicides are even rarer, the likelihood of dying this way is about the same as an American's chance of being killed by lightning, roughly 1 in 10 million. Poland, England, and Japan have moderate to strict gun laws, lowering the amount of mass shootings. If the United States created gun laws equivalent to theirs, the number of mass shootings would decrease. However, the United States can still do more to prevent these unnecessary deaths. One complication is that gun laws vary from state to state. There is no guarantee that every gun owner will have completed a basic background check or psychological screening. People with a history of violent offenses, poor mental health, and even substance abuse are still able to purchase firearms, leading to higher rates of suicide and homicide. The National Center for Biotechnology Information states that up to 60% of perpetrators of mass shootings in the United States since 1970 have displayed symptoms such as acute paranoia, delusions, and depression before committing their crimes. Tragedies like Virginia Tech, the Aurora, Colorado movie theater, and the Orlando nightclub were all linked to a mentally ill shooter. If the gun laws become stricter, and we required background checks and psychological screenings of all people looking to purchase a gun, horrific events like those may be prevented in the future. Yet, some still argue that gun control is futile. The counter-argument is guns don't kill people, people kill people. This is true. People make the decision to commit such crimes, not the guns. However, possessing a gun certainly makes mass murder a lot easier to accomplish. Homicides committed with weapons other than guns have significantly lower death rates and happen less frequently. According to the Washington Post, in 2016, gun homicides made up 74.5% of all murders in the United States, which means that a majority of all homicides in the United States could be prevented if we had stricter gun control. In conclusion, it would be beneficial if gun ownership was more strictly regulated. Mass shootings and other gun-related homicides would be less frequent, and people with a questionable history would not be able to purchase firearms, leading to lower suicide and homicide rates. This is a real problem happening in our country right now. People, even children and teenagers, have to fear for their lives in places that used to be considered safe, like churches, schools, and even in their own homes. American citizens are dying by the hundreds, and the numbers will only continue to grow if federal gun laws are not established. People will continue to die. It's time for us to make a change.
Let me tell you what the procedure is also. You will be hearing the speeches. At the conclusion, there will be a party. You can have cookies and punch in the back of the room and back of this room. We entertain the inner person as well as the outer person. And then we will call you to come back. But this is not the end. Wednesday of next week, you all are invited, all the speakers are invited, to the Lions Club, which every year celebrates our speech tournament with a luncheon for the young people. And I do believe parents are invited to come. I think you pay your way, but you're invited to come. So you know that today is not the end. You get to perform again, and I'm sure you're glad, aren't you? Speaker number 3. Internet is the greatest invention.
The internet is used by billions of people around the world every day. Our lives and culture have been so greatly impacted by this invention. Think about how many times you've used the internet just today. The fact that we have such quick access to a world of information is incredible. At the click of a mouse or the swipe of a finger, we can reach people across the globe. The internet provides a great platform for learning for people of all ages, especially students. Overall, the internet has played a massive role in our society's development. For all these reasons, I feel like the internet is the best invention of the century. Let me first explain the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. The internet is the computer network that holds all of the information, and the World Wide Web is the system on the internet that allows the information to be shared and found easier. It's the conjunction of the two that makes them so impactful. Together, they function to create what most people call the internet. The internet is the best invention of this century because it provides rapid communication. It's a great platform for learning, and it's played a massive role in our society's development. First of all, the internet is the best invention of this century because it provides rapid communication. The internet has forever changed the way we look at communication. Waiting to talk to a long-distance friend or family member is a thing of the past. On the internet, we can talk to anybody and join groups of people that share one's interests. Social media is a great example of how the internet has changed communication. Not only is it a way to talk with people you already know, it's also a way to meet new people who share the same interest in a community. The importance of quick communication is emphasized by the findings of Pew. 96% of teachers surveyed by SBC say that knowledge of and use of the internet is an essential aspect of communication today. Another reason I feel the internet is the best invention of the century is that it's a great platform for learning for people of all ages, especially students. As I previously stated, the internet allows people to talk with others that share a common interest and share information with each other. Anybody has access to the information that's shared. This is especially significant to me because I am a student and I often use the internet for school-related work. According to Pew, 78% of kids say they believe the internet has helped them with schoolwork. 78%. Also, 98% of public schools have some sort of internet access for students. And if that wasn't enough, 5% of adult internet users have taken an online class for a college credit. That amounts to more than 5 million people. Finally, I feel the internet is the best invention of this century because it plays a big role in our society's development. It's only been about 29 years since the invention of the World Wide Web, but so much about our lives has changed because of it. In the article, World Wide Web, the Information Universe, the inventor of the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee, describes a world in which you can find information about anything at the click of a mouse. You could have at your fingertips all you need to know about electronic publishing, high energy physics, or for that matter, Asian culture. This perfectly shows how different it was before the internet. And the internet is one of the main reasons for our social evolution. Because of this change, we need to know how to use it. According to Pew, 55% of parents say it's essential for today's children to learn how to use the internet in order to be successful. Every day, great ideas are being shared with like-minded people over the internet, leading to more innovations and developments. And this is what progresses our society. Now, some people may say that the internet can cause privacy issues or security problems, and I do acknowledge that being on the internet can expose a person to dangers like private data trafficking or social media exploitation. Internet safety is very important. However, I believe that most people who create something connected to the internet, websites or apps, do so with caution. Usually, there are some sort of settings to keep strangers from contacting your account or having any sort of access to it. In addition, social media users can report abusive or inappropriate behaviors. That is why I want to acknowledge internet safety as a serious issue, but not as a valid reason to disregard the internet's good qualities or ever stop using it. To summarize, I feel the internet is the best invention of this century because it helps people connect with others across the world. It's a great platform for learning, and it's helped our society develop and grow. Thank you.
I have here a notebook that I have brought with me every year there's been a speech contest. And I have little notes in it with bits of wisdom that I want to share, and I never get around to sharing because the judges raise their heads too fast to say we've figured it all out or whatever, but time just goes hurrying along. They're a little bit like Cicero said, the aim of oratory is to teach, to delight, to move. Not bad. Aren't we glad? So you are learning, and I know you're delighted. I can tell by looking at you. And you're moved. You are reacting very nicely. One way I'd like you to react. This would not be going on year after year after year as nicely as it does without someone taking hold and making it go. And that's Tara Kristen. For years, along with her principal, Matt Scheibel. You can't do better than Matt Scheibel. I think we ought to thank them with a round of applause for making this possible. We are very grateful. The heads are all up. Number 4, anesthesia. You won't feel a thing.
Don't worry, you won't feel a thing. Before a surgical procedure, doctors will put their patients in a medically induced coma using anesthesia. Anesthesia is a medication given to a patient to prevent pain during surgery. There are multiple types of anesthesia, and some allow the patient to be alert and oriented during a medical procedure, while other anesthesia medications can be given to prevent awareness by making the patient unconscious. Anesthesia is the most significant scientific invention of all time and has saved many lives. First, it causes a temporary loss of sensation in any part of the body. Second, it makes surgery easier for surgeons. And third, it allows patients to undergo surgery without feeling pain. These reasons have affected the world drastically and continue to prove that anesthesia is the most significant scientific invention of all time. One type of anesthesia is local anesthesia. Local anesthesia causes a temporary loss of sensation in any part of the body. One article titled Kids Health says that local anesthesia numbs only a small, specific area of the body. This shows that they can do a small procedure with the patient awake, which is less dangerous. Another article titled Mouth Healthy says that local anesthesia is used to prevent pain in a specific area of the mouth by blocking the nerves that sense or transmit pain. Local anesthesia numbs a particular area of the body while allowing the patient to be awake to communicate with their dentist or other healthcare professional. Local anesthesia is just one of many different types of anesthesia that is important. But not only is it important to the patients, it's important to the surgeons as well. Anesthesia makes surgery easier and less stressful for surgeons. According to Live Science, prior to the discovery of anesthesia, all surgeries were performed on people who were wide awake, oftentimes held down on the operating table by men whose only job was to ignore the patient's pleas, screams, and sobs so that the surgeon could do his job. This shows that surgery was hard to perform as the patient screamed and squirmed in pain. Another article by author and doctor Lindsay Fitzgerald says that the patients weren't the only ones who felt anxious before an operation. Surgeons, too, were apprehensive about cutting into conscious bodies. One surgeon at St. Bartholomew's Hospital confessed to shedding tears and being physically ill before or after a particularly terrible operation. He described the walk to the operating room like going to a hanging. Anesthesia has greatly benefited patients and their surgeons. But most importantly, it allows patients to undergo surgery without feeling pain. Everyday Healthy says that general anesthesia is typically used for more serious surgeries, lengthy procedures, and procedures that would typically be painful. This shows that many long, dangerous surgeries have been successful due to anesthesia. Everyday Healthy also says that it would be traumatic to be awake during surgery, whether or not you were able to feel pain. Being under general anesthesia causes the patient to be free of the fears and anxieties that come with a major surgical procedure. But believe it or not, some may think otherwise. Some focus on how you may experience nausea, a sore throat, and minor soreness. There's also a very little risk of paralysis. But anesthesiologists have the primary responsibility for monitoring the patient's vital signs so nothing goes wrong. The American Society of Anesthesiologists says that a person is more likely to be struck by lightning than to die from anesthesia-related complications. Due to this, anesthesia is the most significant scientific invention of all time. It causes a temporary loss of sensation in any part of the body, it makes surgery easier for surgeons, and it allows patients to undergo surgery without feeling pain. Anesthesia has saved millions of lives and will continue to save millions more. So don't worry, you won't feel a thing.
You know, I think this is the very first time that we have had an all-woman, all-young women list of contestants. Is that saying something about the way things have changed in the world? Well, we're delighted. It's really remarkable. They wouldn't be there without loving parents at home, without help in the classroom, but by their own ingenuity. But home is so important, like giving up cigarettes or anesthesia, which is coming up. What you just heard. I think we ought to also give a hand to parents who have nurtured and are proud, and justifiably so are proud. Won't you stand and be recognized? Parents, please, get up. Hooray for you. This is a copy of what each of the judges has in front of him or her. I will tell you what they are looking at. The very first criterion, organization. The speech has a logical and sequential development and a recognizable introduction, body, and conclusion. And they have 5 choices of answer for that. Exceptional, superior, good, fair, poor. Well, we know what they're marking, don't we? And we'll continue that as we hear speaker number 5. Okay. The smoking gun on cigarettes. I'm sorry. You're crying.
Okay, it's not. I'm deciding where to stand. Okay. A great Scottish-American musician by the name of David Byrne once said, "The true face of smoking is disease, death, and horror, not the glamour and sophistication the pushers in the tobacco industry try to portray." Cigarettes kill more a year than the most common drugs combined. If we already know that they're the most dangerous drug, why are we still allowing their legal sale? Cigarettes should be considered an illegal drug because they're harmful to your health, they decrease the quality of your life, and they're harmful to those both inside and outside your vicinity. First, cigarettes are extremely harmful to your health. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, better known as the CDC, cigarettes kill 480,000 Americans a year. For scale, if the population of Indiana were to stand still where it is now, every single person will be dead in just 13 years. This makes it the leading preventable cause of death in the United States. According to the Oral Cancer Foundation, cigarettes can also cause cancer almost anywhere in your body, not just the lungs, as is the common misconception. Cigarettes can also cause a number of other diseases, including but not limited to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, coronary heart disease, and stroke, all of which contribute to over 800,000 deaths a year and are in the top 10 causes of death in the United States. Second, cigarettes decrease the quality of your life. As you're probably aware, cigarettes have a large impact on your finances. To scale for just how large this impact is, I turn to my calculator. If the average smoker in Indiana smokes 18 cigarettes a day, and the average pack of cigarettes in Indiana costs $5.97, that means in just 1 month, the average smoker in Indiana has spent $161 on cigarettes. Fast forward 20 years, and that number skyrockets to 72,000. That's enough to pay for a full year of PhD tuition at Harvard. Finances aren't the only thing it can impact, however. A study done on workplace productivity with smokers, former smokers, and those who've never smoked found that after they quit, workplace productivity went up by a mean of 4.5%, and workplace absenteeism declined. Cigarette smoke can even linger in your home in the form of THS, or third-hand smoke. Third-hand smoke is the toxins left over after a cigarette has been smoked inside of a building. A study headed by Dr. Georgie Matt found that even after 2 months of vacancy and a home being cleaned and prepared for new residents, the home still showed traces of third-hand smoke. Like the worst clingy ex, cigarette smoke does not let go. Finally, many may bring up the topic of human rights. One of the most basic human rights is the right to do what you wish with your own body. You have every right to mess your own life up. The problem with accomplishing that through cigarettes, however, is that no matter where you smoke, you're harming someone else. According to the CDC, secondhand smoke kills 400 infants a year. That is 400 lives that will never be lived because someone decided to put nicotine into their body. Secondhand smoke can also cause a number of diseases in children, including but not limited to slowed lung growth, acute respiratory disease, and sudden infant death syndrome. There's absolutely no safe amount of secondhand smoke, especially for children. Smoking in an attached living space, Smoking in an attached living space, such as a hotel or apartment, is also harmful because smoke can travel through pipes, ventilation systems, stairwells, windows, outlets, and even tiny cracks in plaster and drywall. Smoking in your car with someone else inside of it can be harmful because even after just half a cigarette has been smoked inside of a car, the air quality inside reaches 10 times over what the Environmental Protection Agency considers hazardous. In conclusion, no one can logically make the argument that cigarettes are not harmful to us as a society because, as I have stated, they're harmful to your health, they decrease the quality of your life, and they're harmful to those both inside and outside your vicinity. Lonnie Anderson once said, if someone had invented cigarettes today, the government would not legalize them. If you or a loved one is addicted to cigarettes, addiction resources can be found on the CDC's website. Remember, this is a conditioned behavior over years of practice, and it can be beat. Help us begin to create an addiction-free tomorrow with a cigarette-free today. Thank you.
I stopped smoking on July 13th, 1973. Made everybody in my family very happy. Think of all the money I've saved since then. We could have a party. Well, while the judge's heads are coming up. The second criterion, the speech includes a counter-argument in the third and final argument, showing research and knowledge. The speaker substantiates ideas with relevant evidence and has clearly gone beyond hearsay knowledge of the topic. So you are hearing genuine depths. Language. The speaker uses vocabulary appropriately, communicates with standard grammar, correct grammar, and employs sentence variety and word choices related to the topic. So this is what the judges are judging on. And we will continue the list after you hear what is better than the modern computer.
As human beings, we've done incredible things to this world. Our past is full of great inventions such as cars, paper, telephone, and electricity, like the light bulb. Thank you, Thomas Edison, for that one. But nothing compares to the invention of the modern computer. Take a second and imagine life without computers. It's close to impossible. Computers have changed the way people relate to one another, as well as how humans organize their work, communities, and their time. Billion-dollar companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon wouldn't exist without the invention of computers and internet. Computers are the most significant scientific contribution to society because they've had a huge impact in education, created new job fields, and has changed the way we live today. To begin with, computers have had a huge impact in education for any grade level. Computers revolutionize the way we learn. They make education easier and faster. According to the DOE, each year we move closer to the goal of getting one connected device for every student. Also, on average, fully one-on-one districts estimate that digital content makes up 60% of their content, and textbooks only make 39% of their content. The company Cliosi Tech says that with the use of computers, it will explore creativity and imaginations in the student's mind. Drawing tools, spreadsheets, audio videos, and PowerPoint presentations are very beneficial for students to learn more deeply. Parents can also download math, science, reading, and grammar softwares on computers at home that will help children's educational skills. Without a doubt, computers have created innovating and demanding new job fields. For example, software development is the largest occupation in the industry. Computer programmers make up 8% of the industry and are projected to grow 29% from 2010 to 2020. Computer system analysts makes up 9% of the industry and are projected to grow 43% in the next 10 years. Networld says that with demand conditions in their favor, many of today's computer science graduates are entering the workforce with high starting salaries and multiple offers of employment. It's clear that the way we communicate today is very different from what it was before, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. According to reference.com, the introduction of computers has allowed technology to replace traditional forms of communication. For example, email is the most common method of communication on computers. Companies like Yahoo Mail, Microsoft Hotmail, and Google Gmail are all examples of email providers that thrive with the use of computers. Many companies communicate with employers by sending emails, and many online services require an email when signing up. Computers have also changed the way people shop. Buyers cannot place orders online and wait for goods to be delivered. Platforms like Amazon, eBay, Wish, and Craigslist all let you buy almost everything you need. Companies can display their information by creating websites for their businesses. Every day, our software is expanding with new forms of information and communication. As you can see, computers are very important in our lives today. They've had a huge impact in education, creating an entirely new job field, and has changed the way we live. Computers have come a long way from where they first began, and every year they become more advanced and more personal to the user. The future of computers is ongoing, and possibilities are endless. I'll leave you with a quote from Bill Gates, principal founder of Microsoft, who once said, "I think it's fair to say that personal computers are the most empowering tools we've created. They are tools of communication, they are tools of creativity, and they can be shaped by their user." Thank you.
Every year I get more and more impressed by the poise, the ease, at least the apparent ease. They don't seem to be nervous or tense. Don't they look normal? I think it's wonderful. A large part of that is due to their teachers, who have helped them become comfortable with the words they are speaking. And so I think we ought to give a round of applause to the classroom teachers who have created this kind of good action. Where are the teachers? Let's see you. Aren't you here? Of course you are. Pleasure to do business with you. I think I'm getting the signal that I should be quiet and introduce the next speaker, that they are ready. And so you will hear speaker number 7, Benefits of the Artificial Heart.
Please raise your hand if you know someone who did or does currently suffer from heart disease. Thank you. What were you able to do? Was there a medical device that enabled them to live a longer and more fulfilling life? If not, an artificial heart could have been the answer. Thousands of people in the U.S. are awaiting heart transplants. On average, it takes around 6 months to get a donor heart. During this waiting time, some patients may die. To prevent unnecessary deaths, doctors created the artificial heart. I believe it is one of the most significant contributions to society because it saves people's lives, keeps them together, and creates pathways for other new inventions. Let me explain to you why this invention is truly an amazing contribution. First, the artificial heart saves many people's lives. The heart is being tested at 5 different cardiac centers. Every year, more than 100,000 people worldwide wait for a heart transplant, where there are generally fewer than 4,000 hearts available. If the artificial hearts are proven to be effective, patients can use these for years as they wait for a heart transplant. To elaborate, when your heart isn't pumping enough blood around your body, that is when you may need an artificial heart. An artificial heart is a mechanical device about the size of an orange that is connected or implanted into your chest to help or replace a failing heart. Many times, an artificial heart may help you temporarily until yours recovers. If this is the case, the artificial heart will be taken out when it is no longer needed. If you need an artificial heart permanently because you're not suitable for a heart transplant, the heart may stay with you for several years. Using one of these specialized heart devices could add many years onto your life. Secondly, the artificial heart helps keep families together. The world's longest surviving artificial heart patient died in 2015, 33 years after his life-saving operation. John McCafferty was told he only had 5 years left to live when he first received the artificial heart. This medical innovation clearly added many years into his life, giving him that time with his family. A recent implementation of an artificial heart went to a boy named Jaheim. He is the smallest and youngest patient to receive the 50cc temporary total artificial heart. This little boy was born with a congenital heart defect and received his first heart transplant in 2012. 4 years later, when his body began to reject his donor heart, Jaheem's doctors implanted the 50cc TA to bridge him to a second transplant. After 280 days of support with the TA, Jaheem received his second donor heart. Without the artificial heart, this young boy's life and quality time with his family would have been cut way too short. Lastly, the invention of the artificial heart creates pathways for many new inventions. The Jarvik 7 artificial heart was created by Robert Jarvik, who once said, "Human bodies are frail, easily damaged packages full of parts that can never fully come back once lost." The successes of the Jarvik 7 caused researchers everywhere to think in new ways and work on new inventions to enhance and prolong life. Creating a major artificial organ had led to scientists working on other new inventions to replace whole organs, like super-sensitive electronic skin, prosthetic hands that sense touch, and contacts that are permanently attached to your eyes. This one invention has inspired others to create new advances that have helped so many other people. There are some concerns about the artificial heart, and some people don't particularly agree with the invention. The artificial heart is not without risk, and those risks include a failing electrical motor, infection, or the need to take blood thinners. Stroke and bleeding are also possible complications with the heart. The artificial heart may not be the answer for every patient, but for some patients is the bridge that leads them back from nowhere. Medical technology continues to improve as researchers refine the artificial heart. The artificial heart saves many people's lives, keeps families together, and creates many pathways for brand new inventions. The artificial heart is clearly an amazing contribution. The fact that it saves people's lives and helps so many other people rather than just the receiver of the heart. Without this amazing invention, just imagine how many people would have died way earlier than anybody deserves to die. Take a second and think about this. If your beloved family member needed a new heart, wouldn't you want them to have the best medical equipment available? The artificial heart is just that, the best invention yet. It's a machine acting as your heart that allows your true heart to grow and expand in unimaginable ways. Personally, I had gained 10 extra years with my grandmother because of this device, and I encourage all of you to appreciate this remarkable invention. Thank you.
This is the second year the contest has been held in this room. Before that, we were in the boardroom across the street in the administration building. Before that, we were in cafeterias in the various schools. Remember, Kikianga won the first one, and that was held at the Memorial Park. But the Kikianga won the first 2 years of this contest, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting. Anyway, we have changed from school cafeteria to the boardroom with all its dignity to this clean, well-lighted room. This is a very nice place, and you look comfortable. You are comfortable, aren't you? Yes. Good. Maybe it was a good move. We wanted to get it out of the schools and give it the dignity that it needs. So we went to the wife of the superintendent because we knew that was the best way to get what we wanted. We spoke with her and said, we think we need a dignified room somewhere. And Pat Antis went to Dr. Antis and said, they need a room with respectability, with dignity. How about the boardroom? And, Pat, you just come up with wonderful ideas, he said. And so we got to move. And that was it for years. Very good. But this is fine. Are you liking this? Tara, are you liking this? Very nice. Yes. Good. Are you liking this? Yes. Good. And then you're entitled to hear speaker number 8. Music education funding.
In 1833, Lowell Mason and George James Webb built and opened what would be the first Academy of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. Ever since then, musical education has been an important part of children's school careers. Recently, though, funding for it has taken a different path. More and more schools each year lose sight of why musical education is important to students. For one, musical education helps further develop everyday skills. It also helps kids learn more coordination, and it helps children who have anxiety and stress. Musical education helps to improve comprehension and math skills. How, you ask? Well, for one, students overcome obstacles such as time signatures and ties. Time signatures tell you how many beats per measure, and ties tie two or more notes together if they are in different measures. Students must learn to use fractions and count in order to play these properly. Not only do they learn math skills, but they learn other words in other languages such as Italian. For example, the crescendo and decrescendo are commonly used in almost every piece of music today. Students must learn to understand the importance of these words, and they can expand their horizons with these words. Not only can students expand their math and vocabulary, but they can also expand their coordination skills. Every person has coordination skills, but if a person plays an instrument, science has proven that these skills are further developed. There are two categories of skills: gross motor skills and fine motor skills. Gross motor skills are skills acquired during childhood, such as walking, running, or even as an infant, crawling. Fine motor skills are skills that have to do with multitasking and hand-to-eye coordination, such as buttoning a shirt, catching a ball, or even using scissors. Students must learn to do things such as press keys, read music, and watch the director. This is hand-eye coordination or multitasking, and you can use these skills in everyday life. According to APA.org, 41% of students suffer with stress and anxiety. Now, by playing music, students can channel this stress and anxiety into something productive. The brain in music is targeted through the autonomic nervous system, the endocrine, and the psychological stress system, and helps to calm the child's brain. It's like mental therapy for the child. Now, not every child has the option to join these classes due to not enough space because of funding shortages, and there are not enough instruments for these students to join a class. People say that kids need to focus on academics and that music is a waste of money and time, but science has proven those claims wrong. Music actually improves academic ability because, once again, it helps with math and reading. Some famous musicians went from school kids to being one of the most known people in the world. For example, Louis Armstrong. He was a high school dropout, and he became one of the most known musicians in the world. Not only does music help with academic ability, but it also boosts a child's confidence and self-esteem. With stronger attitudes, we can make a stronger society. Overall, it may be said that musical education is a waste of money, but it's not. Musical education helps with everyday skills, improves coordination, and helps kids with health issues. We need more funding for this kind of education, not less. And for those of you who think the same thing, you can start making a difference by contacting the head of the board of education in your school district or your school and tell them why musical education needs more funding. Thank you.
If you've read any of my columns, you know that I have been an advocate of the fine arts in the classroom. I think teaching mathematics and technology and engineering and preparation for the future in order to make a living is all fine. But if you don't have your leisure time filled with something beautiful, you're missing a part of life. A good part of life, whether it's music or visual arts or literature. So I'm always glad to have an advocate here. Evidently you agree. I see heads nodding. We have to get the people who decide to understand there's nothing like the fine arts in any form. But I'm never going to get finished with this if I don't hurry up. Platform presence. The speaker demonstrates poise, self-control, natural and appropriate gestures, and facial expression with good eye contact. Have you had good eye contact? We are studying. One to go, but we'll listen to that after we learn about the importance of unions.
$146 is the number of people who lost their lives at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. 31 of them were 18 or younger. Those who died were ranging from the ages of 11 to 48. That's 146 people who couldn't make it home that night for supper. That number could be greatly reduced had the company had proper working fire extinguishers or if they didn't chain their doors shut. History.com stated, the manager attempted to extinguish the fire, but was unsuccessful as the hose was rotted and its valve was rusted shut. Unions are needed in the workplace because they increase pay and benefits, set up a formal process for disputes and complaints, and they even set up a collective bargaining agreement. Without a union, this is what could still be happening to you or your children. The first way that the unions improve working conditions is how they increase pay and benefits. EPI.org stated, unions stimulate the economy. IUOE.org stated, the 8-hour workday is an example of a positive change that unions help to create that affects everyone. This statement shows that the 8-hour workday that you probably think is completely normal probably wouldn't be possible if we didn't have unions to help us. IUOE.org also stated, in many states, there is no legal right for workers to take a break. But when you have a union, you are more likely to be able to take a break through collective bargaining. Another reason why unions leave a positive mark on the work environment is how they set up a formal process for disputes and complaints. This could also be called the grievance handling procedure. A grievance is a complaint or dispute that needs to be solved. The procedure that takes place is positive because it keeps the company accountable to their employees. It also ensures that they stay within their collective agreement. If you're thinking those are the only things unions do, well, there's more. Unions have even set up a collective bargaining process. During this process, a representative of management and a representative of the union come together to negotiate hours, working conditions, wages, benefits, and many other things. What the union and management manage to come together on is written out on paper. It cannot be changed until the next time this process takes place. People who are against unions say that unions take more than they need when it comes to their wages. Townhill.com stated, unions have become selfish, extremely greedy, and even thuggish in their never-ending quest to take as much as they can for themselves, at the expense of everyone else. Much to their probable dismay, the union is just trying to ensure that the average worker gets a fair amount of pay. Diana Hembry of Forbes.com stated, CEO pay at a 500 index firm soared at an average of 361 times more than the average rank-and-file worker, or pay of $13,940,000 a year. She then says the average production worker earned just $38,613. 18 minutes. 18 minutes is all it took on March 25th, 1911 to change millions of people's lives forever. The union managed to gather 80,000 people in just 11 days to march the streets of New York to protest the conditions leading up to the fire. Unions are needed in the workplace. After hearing all the good that unions do, you probably are wondering, how can I join a union at my job? Well, if your job has an already formed union, contact your local president to join. But if it doesn't, try to form one by gathering and discussing with fellow employees. Try to get involved, and you could possibly protect your working conditions or someone else's.
Have you been impressed by the topics that have been selected? Yeah, it's very good. Well, the last of the criteria last one is vocal interpretation, which we've also noticed. The speaker has sufficient volume, variety, and speed, proper enunciation and pronunciation. And that is what the judges are judging on. That is the list. I am impressed by the choice of topics. I don't know that I've ever heard a selection like this before. I think this is probably the best. While one nervous speaker wants to get this over with, we've had a wonderful session here listening, and I know that she will be too if I ever stop talking. But let's let all these speakers know we think they're great. And so, I will give you a break and be quiet. Holidays, are they all created equal?
Hello, good afternoon. Today I'd like to speak about holidays. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Eid, Ramadan, Good Friday. Are they all equal? America was built on Christianity, but it was also built on equality. According to metamedia.org, schools and businesses shows that there are more days off for Christian holidays, such as Christmas, Easter, and Good Friday, leading to the fact that only having Christian holidays off is unfair for non-Christians. The most widely practiced religion in the world is Christianity, but the other widely practiced religion in the world are Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism. On the other hand, schools and businesses would have too many absences if they allowed everyone to have their time off for their religious holidays. As well, this can create peace and equality. Everyone can practice their religion without having to worry about the consequences of the penalties. In the Islamic religion, there's Ramadan. Ramadan lasts for 30 days, depending on the lunar moon phases. I'm not asking for a whole month off, but there should be at least a consideration of floating holidays. Floating holidays give people choices of what day to take their days off. In the Islamic religion, Eid is also very important. The Muslim calendar holds 3 days of Eid. Eid al-Fitr is a holiday of breaking the fast. Muslims begin their day by going to the mosque and pray. Children usually receive Eid money or even new clothes by the elders as gifts from doing good deeds for the whole month. Most of the time, there are school and work at Eid al-Fitr. Schools and businesses should acknowledge other religions' holidays and allow their people to practice these religious holidays without having penalties, maybe in the form of floating holidays. In the Buddhism religion, water festivals are also very important. Water festivals is when they cleanse themselves by cleanse their sins and dark souls. Buddhists go to the temples and pass out flowers and even food for the monks as an appreciation, celebration, and donation. The water festival is the day when Buddha walked up to heaven and met his mother. For Buddhists, this is a really important day to not miss. Hanukkah is also very important for Jewish people. Hanukkah means rededication. Hanukkah, in the religion of Hinduism, Diwali is also very important. It's a celebration where Hindus light up their houses, which lift up the bad spirits away. Diwali's festival celebrates the victory of good over bad. According to pjcc.org, Jewish people have Passover, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur as culturally significant Jewish holidays, which are the high holy days. In conclusion, why can non-Christians have their religious holidays off just like any other Christian religious holidays? Thank you.
And there you are. And now you may meet with your speakers and enjoy cookies and punch, and we will reassemble when the judges have finished their job. We'll see you back here shortly. Okay? You are now dismissed. You don't have to. If you're comfortable, stay. You all relaxed?
Cookies were good.
I know a secret. You understand that each of these young women is already a winner in her own school. And we know why. They're good. And now, as I call your name, you go over to receive your plaque. There is a large traveling trophy that's missing. Your name the winner's name will be inscribed on that.
Memorial Park has it. There it is. It's back there. We're good. We found it.
Good. If I skip your name, don't get distressed. I will call your name to go over and get your plaque, please. From Shawnee Middle School, Jordan Harder, To Die or Not to Die. Is this the first year Tolles has participated? It's the first year I remember, but I've been wrong twice before. From Tolles New Tech School, Isabel Alfaro. From Jefferson Middle School, Annie Fazaro. From Northwood Middle School, Liliana Mutzer. Portage Middle School, Delaney Jensen. Miami Middle School, Natalie Cheney. And Lakeside Middle School, Snow White. Second runner-up, and in third place from Memorial Park Middle School, Marlena Ames. In second place, from Kikianga Middle School, Lisbeth Arnvivar. And I think that means the winner from Black Hawk Middle School, Maya Gaskell. Congratulations to you all. You are wonderful winners. We're proud of you. Now go relax. And then let me turn it back to Tara. I'll get out of your way. I'll return that. Or is that mine
You
to
wanna
keep?
it? You can frame it.
Alrighty.
All right, I'm gonna take this photo. Thank you.
And
Thank you
ma-
again, everybody, for coming. For the judges, our MC, Dr. Betty White, can we give it up for them again, please? Thank you. Thank you again to our LTV staff, nutrition services, and those at Bay Center that have helped set this up. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Congratulations.
As Dr. Luncheon next Wednesday, the Lions Club Luncheon. I'll be emailing the schools to get your numbers. It is free for the students, the coaches, the principal, and any family members that want to come. So I'll give you more information on that through email next week, but try to mark it on your calendar, 12 o'clock, History Center on Wednesday. Thank you all again. Have a fantastic evening. Good job, ladies. Good job.
Dr. Stein,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
You talked to me about my writing.